Tell me when. So I'll begin. Did you guys want to do any preliminaries, introductions, anything like that?
I think probably a prayer and you can just go right on ahead.
Okay, would that be me or you?
So I can do a prayer.
All right, let's.
Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your blessings. We thank you so much for what we are going to learn this evening. We thank you that you have put everything we need to raise little people for your kingdom. Father, continue to bless us on this journey. Continue to bless our children and help that when you come, we can show them as being faithful, show ourselves as being faithful, and to be able to live in your home with you. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. How's this? A little busy with my door.
You went in and out. Say that again?
How about now? I said, how is my sound? It's getting busy outside my door, so I put on my headphones. How are we sounding?
Okay, good.
It sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Let's get started with our Parenting on Purpose bond building event. Today, we're going to be talking about intentional parenting tools and resources. I'm so glad to be here with you guys. Thank you, Rescue the Perishing Ministry, for having me. Thank you, Maqueda, for extending the invitation. So we're doing this presentation because we want parents to know how to bond with their children. Like, what are we supposed to be doing out here, especially our homeschooling parents? And so I've got some tools and I've got some resources that are going to help you to feel a little bit more secure, a little bit better, a little more encouraged on this journey. Okay, so who am I? Mostly either knows someone I know, or we've met, or I remind you of someone we know. So I always feel like family with everyone in every group that I present in. But a little more, I am a bond builder, which is AKA a restorer of the breach. I'm a teacher, instructor. I'm a social worker with attitude. And I'm a homeschooling mom as well of 2 little boys, 3 and 6. I'm an independent consultant with Usborne Books and More, an awesome publishing company, which you'll be hearing more about later in our presentation. And of course, most importantly, I'm a student in the School of Christ. So I am in school, but I am trying to just share everything that I'm learning on my way. I don't want to keep it to myself. So back to parenting on purpose. On purpose, intentional, right? So what is that about? I always look up words. I'm always like, what's the definition of that? And so intentional, how are we doing something with intentionality? We are being deliberate, right? Calculated, like we're counting the cost, we're going to build a house, we're checking out what are the resources that we need to make it happen. We're planning this thing out. A lot of times we don't get to plan out parenting, and it's even more difficult because we never know what kind of child we're going to have or who that person is and what their needs are. But there are resources to help us, like once we get started on that parenting journey, like to know which way to go and how to move about it and how to do it so that we're not just flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak, and we're not doing the things that we said we weren't going to do that our parents or whoever did, right? So we want to be doing this on purpose, want to plan, calculate. We want to do it with intention. And the opposite of that is accidental parenting, which a lot of people fall into. So one of the things that I think are really helpful about understanding how to do this intentionally is establishing values. Like people have them, right? But like oftentimes people don't sit down and like write them down or like say, these are my values. You're like, you actually put words to them. And so something I like to say about values is that your affection determines your attention, and your attention determines your direction. And that's what values are essentially, is they're really like what determines where you're going in this vehicle of life. And so something that's important about values and that has shaped your values is the family type. And so what's really important about family type is that you come from a certain family type and you're established in a certain family type. And you have to like be aware of that because that impacts your values. Are you from a nuclear family? Are you in a nuclear family? And that means it's just parents and children, like everybody else, mind your business, right? Nuclear family is just us. Extended family, which is a really Caribbean model, or not just Caribbean, Eastern model as well. A lot of different cultures thrive on the extended family model, which means we are parents, we have the kids, then we also have the grandparents, aunties, uncles, first cousins, and these people might all live in the same house. Like in my family, I call it the compound because there are multiple family homes on one single property. So is your family the extended family model or the blended family model, which is really common in this day and age, where we have one person with children marries into another family, they become one family, and they all have children, and they all have maybe adult children, and those adult children may have spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends, and it's just big blended blob. Some really popular celebrity families that have like come to the forefront are like Alicia Keys and her husband. Like, you know, like how are these things making it work? Vanessa Williams, like the whole blended family, like the exes and their spouse and the new family and their spouse and all the children, like they go on vacation together. Like these are like seriously blended families. And so those have really been awesome and encouraging to see that like people can live in peace. Then there's the patriarchal family, which of course is, you know, father, mother, children. Like this is the, I guess people more look at it as authority, or I've also seen those images on Instagram, Jesus, father, mother, children, patriarchal family. Then there's a matriarchal family, which I come from, which is a line of mommy is boss and what mommy says is best, or what grandma says is final. You know, the matriarch runs things. And so what you have to also look at with your family is, do I come from a matriarchal family and am I marrying into a patriarchal family where what father says is the last word? And I come from a family where mother says is the last word. And so there's going to be a lot of clashing if we don't like really talk about like what are our values and what is driving our decisions. And it could be another makeup. Do you come from an egalitarian family where, you know, we talk about decisions and we take a vote, or, you know, even the kids get a vote, and you're marrying into a family where the husband comes from a patriarchal family and he's just like, no, there's no voting. It's whatever I say, it's what we're going to do. So looking at what is driving the decisions, the emotions, the things that you all are doing, it's really influenced by our family values, which is influenced by the type of family that we come from. So putting that out there, we're going to talk more about it, but just I want you all to start being aware of these things. When we are looking at family values, and when we're looking at values, we want to look at family type. We also want to look at how do you spend your time. This is also going to be an indicator of what your values are. How do you spend your time as a family? Do you guys spend a lot of time outside? Are you going camping? Are you full of family activities? Does everybody have a screen in front of their face at all meals and all times when there's an opportunity? Are there social activities? Do you guys like to scatter and then come back together? Like, how do you spend your time? Do you actually enjoy spending your time with your family? Do you like having friends over? Is your house one of those houses where all your kids' friends are going to be there all the time, opening your fridge, eating your food? You know, I grew up with, you know, so many aunties. I didn't know who was my parents' siblings. Like everybody was auntie, and we were always at their house. And you know, yes, we were eating all their food. So like, how do you spend your time, and who do you spend your time with? I hope I don't get ahead of myself. How do you spend your money is an indicator of what your values are, right? So is your house full of like high-end electronic stuff, or is your house full of like toys, Legos, wooden blocks, or is your house full of like expensive furniture? Like where you're spending and how you're spending your money is really telling of what's important to you. What are your values and what's driving your behaviors? And to what does your mind often wander? Like, do you zone out and you're like on a beach somewhere? Are you in woods somewhere? Are you off hiking by yourself somewhere? Are you like wishing you were in a closet eating ice cream by yourself with no one knocking at any door? Like, what does your mind wander to? That is an indicator of what's important to you. What are your values? I wish I could see you guys' faces, it would help. But I know you're listening, you're driving, you're there. So I keep going. But if you need to chime in, if I'm sure I need to slow down, but you have to turn on your mic to tell me what entities receive your undivided attention. So when we're talking about your undivided attention, like church activities, like when the phone rings, whose phone call makes you jump to attention? Like what's getting your undivided attention? What are you steadily trying to get better at? Like that's a really good thing to look at. What is important for you to improve at, and what could you do for hours on end without interruption? What's good about your family? What are you proud of about your family? You know, like someone indicated that it sounded kind of prideful when I was sharing with them about our family worship, and I didn't think about it as prideful, but I feel really good about that we make time to, before husband leaves, that we have worship together. So that's something that, you know, I would want to open the windows and the doors to, like, yes, we would love for you to be a part of this. So not proud, like, you know, something prideful, you're better than someone, but something that you feel good about, that like, yes, I got this, you know, inculcated into our family. Like, you know, sometimes you're just struggling to get things, you know, in order, like in your mind it's a way, but it hasn't actually manifested itself in your family. Like, but you might have something like, yes, it was like this in my head, and now it actually looks like this in our family. So what's good about your family, or what are you proud of? And what's weird about your family? What would you rather others not know? You know, like maybe we should just keep it to ourselves. But it's something that's important to you that, you know, or it's not important to you, so it doesn't bother you that it happens in your family, but it might be weird to other people. So again, it's related to what are your values? Examples of values, we know these words, but we're going to hone in on them a little more. Compassion, security, honesty, kindness, intentionality, gratitude. I'm going to ask you to open your mics in a second. Humility, celebration, teamwork, wisdom, love. These are things that are values to people, respect. So I'm going to ask you guys right now, like, what are values to you? Like, name three values that are important to you. Could be on this list, might not be. But shoot, you speak. What are three values that are important to you or to your family?
I am happy to see celebration on this list, because celebration is a big thing in our family, and it's important to me. So celebration is definitely one of mine, and well, ours, sorry. And honesty is a big one, and obedience, I would say. Yeah,
Good,
probably because
great.
that's what we're working on right now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share what their three are?
Well, obedience, of course, one of mine. I would say reverence. I'm putting this on the list.
Yeah, I
But
said on the list or off.
reverence.
Yeah.
Yeah, reverence. And love.
And love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. If anyone else wanted to share, feel free to jump in.
Before you share, you go ahead, Renee. I know you said you may have mentioned it in the last presentation, but this is something you can do with families, as in help us sit down and figure out what our values are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this is something that was important to me. I got a little anal about it, but I'd seen at a friend's house, like she had their names with, like, remember, Scrabble pieces. And so I was like, I'm going to put this up. So I got a little nutty. I went to like the Dollar Tree and I got letters and I turned some backwards and I glued them together and I got stickers with numbers on them. And I did a whole like acrostic, or is that what it is? No, but anyway, like the Scrabble board you have in front of you with our values. So when you come in the door and you look right, you would see what our values are. And this was really for me to remind. So when I'm talking to my kids, I would be like, hey, that's not the Hector way. Like, we always try to practice respect, like just trying to inculcate in them, like, this is who we are. And so when I speak, because they're not reading it, when I speak to them, I'm speaking in context of these words. And that is what values do. They give us the context of what we're trying to teach them, of why we're asking them not to do something, of why we're asking them to do something, of why we do this every week. It's based on our values. Of course, this isn't extensive, but these were the main gripping ones for me. And so I did come up with like letters to help me remember it, because I'd be like all over the place, like making up stuff. But it's love, it's intentionality, which is just a big buzzword for me the year that I had did this. And then I went to gratitude, and H was honesty, and then F was faith, and then obedience and respect. So it was like life, OR, like operating room, OR. And so the thing about this, which was tricky, is that as my son got older, he would say, Mommy, you say that, whatever daddy says, goes, but you don't always do what daddy says. And so that was like cutting to me, because it's just like, I want my kids to obey me, but I don't show deference and obedience, when asked to do something. Like I don't show submission, but I want them to submit to me. So, obedience is not just something that we demand from them. It's also something we have to model for them, right? And so if it's one of our values, it doesn't matter, if our friends scoff at our husband's request and that we're doing it, like cheerfully, because it's one of our values and we hold to it no matter what. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So when it's a value, nothing else can sway it, friends, family members, mother-in-law, like nothing else can sway, because these are our family values and this is how we make decisions. And this is a part of who we are and what we're instilling in our children. And so let's talk about how do we integrate these great, beautiful words, right? They're so lofty and beautiful and noble. Like, how do we integrate that at home into intentionality at home 101, essentially? So here we have like, these are things that people would say, that parents would say, this is important to us in our home. Having enough money, doing the right thing, spending time together as a family, being able to do things on your own. Reaching our goals is important. Doing what you say you will do is important, right? Like, how do you put that into like one word? Laughing, having fun, making decisions for yourself, being successful, showing respect, like all of these, right? So I just indicated a few, and I've given them like one word. It's like education and learning. Advancement is the value, right? They're like, that's important. So it's not just to our children, but to me also. If I get the opportunity to continue my education or get a certification, is that important to me? Am I going to take it, or am I going to pass it by because saving up for a house is more important, right? Like our value also with financial security, and we want to own property, or we want to, whatever this financial goal is, like what is the value, right? So I'll give you guys an example of how I determine what to do based on my values. So I think it was like 2018. It was 2018. And I was like, look, these are my goals. It is God, to like follow God hardcore. And then I want to be like solid in the home, right? Like I want to be a good mother, particularly focusing on my mothering, because my kid was born in 2018. And so I was feeling like overwhelmed with a 3-year-old and a newborn. And then also I was like, I need to get some money so I can make some moves, because I'm going to be homeschooling them. So like, what are we doing? And so I got an invitation to a wedding, and it was during my part-time work schedule. So I would have to take off from work, and I was only working like maybe 2 days a week or something like that. So what do? It was a person who was related to me. And I was given this invitation. I was like, oh man, they're just such a sweet couple, but like, yo, I'm trying to get this money. What do I do? Well, hey, guess what? My goals are not like getting closer to family or like socializing. And it was the person's third wedding. And I'm trying to get this money. And according to my goals, that's the decision I made, right? So, I mean, not to, be like flippant about it, but you got to go with your goals. That's why we set them, right? So set your goals and then stick to them. And that's how you determine what your decisions are. So, the extended family is having another event, but they're going to have alcohol or something that you guys just don't get down with. You noticed your kids just been very impressionable lately, and just like swaying as far as what their interests are and like how they follow people. And so what are your priorities? I'm trying to get this kid's character right for heaven. That is our first priority. We love family, and that's important too, but which one is the value? And that is how we determine what we're going to do. Are we going to hurt their feelings? Sure, they're going to be upset, but maybe we can have a couple of them over to our house next month, right? And that's what this is about. Like, how do we use our values to drive the car of our behaviors and our decisions? Financial security was another one, having enough money, but the value is financial security. You want to be financially secure. Self-development, self-care, self-control. These are the values, that just make this list more succinct. Responsibility, independence, right? That's important. So you know, for me, independence was important for me growing up. I asked my mom, I was like, you know, what are you most proud of? And this was like last year, right? Like, I was like, what are you most proud of, you know, about me? And she was like, your independence. I'm like, okay. I was like, anything else? She was like, no. And I just laughed because it's just, it was expected. It's just like, I leave her alone. I'm not out there asking her for money. I'm not out there floundering. You know, I move and go where I want to do what I want to do. But that's how she raised me, right? So she has seen what she has instilled and inculcated. I remember when I was 14, my mom said to me, you know, the reason that I sent you to Europe is because I don't want you to ever be in a situation where a man is like, oh, I could do this for you, and oh, I could do that for you, and I could take you to Europe, I could take you to France. And she wants me to be like, well, I've already done that. What else do you have to offer? And again, I came from a matriarchal family, so it was very important for her to raise an independent child. So that's the reason that she did the things that she did when I was a child, because she wanted me to be independent. Is it a little challenging now that I'm married? And I'm married and I'm in a patriarchal family? It is a little challenging, but again, when we come together and we set our goals, and I have to reassess what is important in this context. Thank you, mommy, for what you gave me, right? But what is important in this context, then I'm able to move forward. Quality of life, right? Like having stuff or like having family. You know, the proverb says like, where there is no oxen, the crib is clean, right? So that's important, because is it important for your house to be immaculate or for you to have healthy, happy children? Think about it and decide. Does it mean that maybe you guys should downsize? Does it mean that maybe you shouldn't have so many, you know, big screen TVs because you're always so anxious and nervous and the kids can't go in that room and they can't touch this and they can't do that? Like, you have to determine, what is the value? Do we value stuff, or do we value free range children? What do we value? Integrity, independence, compassion. I said independence already. Readers make leaders. So the reason that reading comes in is because this is how we start to inculcate our values to our children. And so that's why I talk a lot about literacy and reading and children, et cetera, because as you'll see with some of these statistics, it's life-changing. It is game-changing for your children. Education and income levels have an unfortunate impact on child literacy, but the mere presence of books is powerful enough to supersede that, right? Children who grow up in homes with at least 20 or more books on average, go to school 3 more years than the other children with bookless homes, right? So if you just want your kids to have an interest in academia, right? Just to be more interested in it, they're more likely to, just because of the presence of books. And this is regardless of if the children if the parents didn't go to school or whatsoever. And those type of statistics are what encouraged me to want to say, hey, listen, I want every child that I have the privilege of engaging or having some kind of contact with, I want them to have a personal library. So I went to Dr. Google and I was like, okay, Dr. Google, what's a personal library? Do you know what Dr. Google said? 70 books. Throw out a number. It's okay. It's a great number. 70 books is a personal library, right? So this means this kid just has its books around them, like they grow up knowing books, seeing books, handling books, respecting books. And just something as simple as having access to age-appropriate books is something that is going to make a difference in that child's life. Reading with your kids. Now this is next. So first we're just talking about the presence of books. Now we're talking about reading with your kids. Children who are read to at least 3 times a week by family members are twice as likely to score in the top 25% in reading compared to children who are read to less than 3 times a week. So just reading with your kid is changing their life. And talking. Parents who talk to their kids through daily activities while they're washing the dishes, while they're doing the laundry, expose them to 1,000 to 2,000 words an hour. Children whose mothers frequently spoke to them as infants learned almost 300 more words by age 2 than children of mothers who did not. And I would like to add to that, from my social work experience as a therapist, I was doing research on depression in mothers, and I found that children whose mothers were depressed because mothers talked less, those children were more likely to have behavioral issues and also to not be as verbal. I mean, it just makes sense. If mommy's talking, they're talking. If mommy's not talking, they're not talking. And so my rule of thumb is kind of, when they're younger, talk more, and as they get older, talk less, right? Like, don't overwhelm teenagers, right? But when they're small, talk, again, just talk. Start early. In the first 3 years, infants and toddlers begin acquiring the first of thousands of words they will use throughout their life. So between talking and reading and spending time with these children and bonding with these children, you are impacting them for life. So now we're going to go into what are some practical issues, what are some practical tools that you can use, tools and resources that you can use, that you have access to and that you can get access to, that are going to make these monstrous impacts in their lives. Reading bedtime stories, read a book or tell a story that can be played at bedtime. When I say played at bedtime, I mean audio, something that they can listen to, which I think is, what it does is it connects the person with that voice. Now remember, it doesn't always have to be mom, right? Sometimes I could just take some of the pressure off of mom. If dad works late, let dad record the story so that he can actually be there, squishy fingers, be there reading the story for the child at bedtime. And so it's still connecting them with dad or with that person who's not there physically. So letting them listen to your voice, reading a familiar book can definitely be, sorry, I heard someone at the door, can definitely be bonding. Singing it out, send a song or a medley and let them hear your voice. So I used to do that for my son when I don't remember, I had an appointment. I let him stay with my sister. He was feeling a little antsy. He's probably like 1 and something. And so I had recorded myself singing, because I would just sing medleys to him on long drives. I recorded myself doing it one day and I sent it to her when he was feeling, antsy, and, it calmed him down. And so it doesn't just work for moms and their kids, but it also works for getting them to know that voice. So when you guys come together at family events, they know that voice. They're not just looking at you like, who are you again? Why are you touching me? Why are you squeezing my cheeks? But the voice is going to connect them, and it's going to calm their spirit, and it's going to make the connection easier with family members and people who are in our village. Be an alarm notification. I love this one. Issa Rae. I don't know if you guys knew that Google and Issa Rae had a little thing where she was the voice that was turn left in the next 300 feet. Like, it was her voice saying, this store may be closing at 7 p.m. this evening. Are you sure you want to go? It was more of a familiar voice than the robotic voice, right? And so I was like, yeah, let me hear that voice. And that was the voice that I selected. And so we can do that with our children and the children in our village, our nieces, our nephews, our neighbors, like whoever we're bonding with, is we can let them hear your voice or, that relative's voice as an alarm or notification. So when it's time to brush your teeth, they can hear, this is the way we brush. You get the voice recording, put it on your phone, you choose it as your alarm, and then they have to brush their teeth for as long as that alarm is playing, or as long as that voice recording is playing. You can play the voice recording every morning and every evening when they brush their teeth, and they have to brush it for the full 30 seconds that the song is playing. Or the alarm could just be, oh, that's Auntie's voice, time to go brush our teeth. Or it could be uncle who's trying to help you potty train. Like, if you have to go to potty, just stop and go, oh, did you hear uncle's voice? Come on, it's time to go to the potty. And it can help in potty training. So whenever they hear that voice, they know it's time to go to the potty. So transition times, special times, let them be an alarm or notification. Pre-recorded activity, the bear hunt song. If you guys are together or not together, like, you send this song that you're doing, and then the child gets to do it with you. So we're going on a bear hunt. I'm not scared. I just love that part. I jumped to the part. I'm not scared, because they're going on a bear hunt and they're pretty much going on you. They can't go over the grass. They can't go around the grass. They can't go under the grass. We just got to go through it. And then you're doing the motions, and you do that with them, and you record yourself doing it with them. And they can do that. They can use that when they're scared, during a thunderstorm, or when you guys are just apart. So a pre-recorded activity, you record yourself doing it with them or apart, and then you send it to them. So let's use that technology to bond with the kids in our lives. And then we're showing them that our values, that they are important. They are part of our values, like togetherness, love, support, connectivity. Video, take pics of a book, or have 2 copies of a book, or record a book when you're reading together, and then share it. So I sent out an SOS to my family members, and I got 1 response of someone who was willing to read the kid's favorite book. I took pictures of the book and I sent it. And my 10-year-old nephew was the only person who responded. And he shot himself making the video. He sent me a private YouTube link, and then the boys would listen to him reading their favorite book at nighttime. And it was amazing because we had moved to Georgia from Maryland, so they weren't together like they had used to be. And it was bonding for them, and it was really great. So, you know, if one of your values is community, or it takes a village to raise a child, that concept, then that's a way to continue to keep connected. And again, 5 minutes of story time can go a long way. Just 5 minutes, guys. I remember my girlfriend from college, I went over to her house, and her daughter is the same age as my son. They're 8 days apart. And she, you know, was like, you know, where you going? I was like, show me your room. And, you know, because we just hadn't seen each other in a long time. And I got up to her room, and the boys were, everybody else is a boy. So she's with me. And I said, you know, do you want me to read you a book? She's like, yeah. It's like, show me your favorite. And I sat down in the rocking chair and I read it with her. It was like 5 minutes. But guys, let me tell you how, like, from like previous visits where she was totally not interested in me and I was like, to following me around. Like when we go out, she's like, I want to ride in Renee's car. Renee, where are you going? And can I sit on you? And just, it was just like glue. Just that, showing interest in her, asking her if I could read to her her favorite book. In 5 minutes, we were like peoples. And so that reading time together, even if it's not your own kid, it's bonding for other kids. Stick to a theme. So when you are bonding, connecting with kids, of course, what we're talking about is building values. Like, these are ways that we can stick to a theme. Fire trucks, first responders, we in our family highly revere civil servants. So fire trucks, they love fire trucks. And so we take trips to the, anybody want to say? Yeah, the fire station, and the firefighters love it. Look at this guy. He looks like a kid himself. Every time we go to the fire station, and we go to all different fire stations, like we'll just be passing through a county and we'll stop at a fire station. They're all so goofy nice. They're like, hey, come on over here. And they get so excited showing us and opening all the doors. And my kid might zone out and they'd be like, hey, like, did you see this one? This is an axe. Like, they get so excited to like share and show. And so my kids know like all the different types of tools and hoses that go on fire trucks. And recently what we started doing is we started praying when we hear an ambulance or see a fire truck. We started praying for the first responders and the family who might be involved with that, because you know, we care about people who are taking care of our community. So we gave out like points set of plans and little treats to the garbage men. They go crazy every Monday when the garbage man comes by. They're like, oh, beat the horn. And the guy, the lady who drives the garbage truck, she just puts down her window and she beeps the horn for them. She's like, I love y'all. I love y'all, in her Georgia drawl. And so community is important to us. And so these are some of the ways that that is being conveyed. Like, this is how we took also apple cider during Thanksgiving to the fire station, and we just wrote a note and we said, thank you for taking care of our community. So sticking to a theme, fire trucks, take trips to fire station, construction. Anybody, what do you do to stick to a theme for construction? Like, if your kids love construction, my boys, of course.
Either a construction site or even a place that sells construction tools, right?
Absolutely, that's such a great idea. Like, I don't know, what's the name of the place in Trinidad that it's like Home Depot?
By one thing, I'm not sure.
Yes, thank you. And so like going there is so cool. Like, you're looking at light fixtures and you're looking at doors, and it seems really weird, but it's cool. And you're helping your kids like put things together, like to get an idea of like, what's like, your house isn't just a house, but like somebody built it, right? So when we drive by construction sites and we're seeing the development of a house going up, and I just feel like my kids, like, they just have these like architectural minds now. Like, they don't look at things the same, right? Just because we do that. Like, we'll drive through housing. My kids like to drive through housing developments for fun. Okay, they're weird. They love construction stuff. So construction, and you don't have to pay for it. It's free. You park your car across the street. We look at the crane. We look at the bulldozer. Emergency responders, we talked a little bit about that, but like, stop and talk to a police officer. They learn to respect police officers, not be afraid of them. And then also that, they're real people. And so especially if they have a canine, we're like, what's your dog's name? And I mean, if you see the countenance of the police officer like soften when the kids start talking to them. And so I always encourage that. And I think that was really helpful for me growing up, police officers coming to our schools and talking to us. That is the difference between me thinking like, yo, police officers are who you call for help, as opposed to like, they're here to infiltrate our community. So it's definitely a different mindset when they interact with them from childhood. And I grew up in the hood, so a lot of people had that mindset, like, yo, we don't do police officers. What you looking for? You won't have no answers for you. Like, that was the mindset of my community, but I didn't have that. And I think that was because of interacting with police officers early on. Veterinarian, like, what if your child has interest in being a veterinarian? Anybody, where would you take them? Sticking with the theme here. Taking care of animals, where would you take your child?
Renee likes to go to the zoo.
To the zoo, cool, free, like that. Anywhere else?
To a vet.
To the vet? Yeah, but they busy, they got a lot of animals. I haven't tried that. I don't know if I will. I'll be like, how do I just roll up on a veterinarian, like a doctor's office? Let me know how that goes if you try it though. I was thinking something a little more laid back, like the pet store. So we took I took the two boys to the pet store. The person there was just like chatting away. Like he was just it was like a tour. Like we had a tour guide. And then we started talking to the other customers and we were like, hey, to the lady, what are you buying those rats for? And she's like, oh, to feed them to our boa constrictors. So you meet interesting people that you would never expect to have these certain types of animals, and you learn about them that way. And so it's also teaching your children how to engage and how to socialize. Whenever I used to go out with my dad was born and raised in Tobago. Whenever we would go out, I'd be like, do you know that person? Do you know that person? Do you know? Because he's talking to everybody like he knows them. And they're like sad to see him go. And I'm just like, how do you don't know what's going on. But that is something that we learned from our parents. And so, people, when they see my son doing that, they're like, so is he like you or your husband? I'm like, guilty. But these are things that they learn from these interactions. What are your values? Is it respect? Is it socialization? Do your children need to know how to talk to adults, communicate to adults? Do they, so these are things that we're doing on purpose. Throwing some dress up or apparel. And like this here, my girlfriend, if you see my son on the right with the vest on, my girlfriend worked at the airport, and she just had she had a training and it was finished. So she had this vest in the back of her car. She just flung it out and threw it at them. Here, Jonathan. And he never took this vest off, guys. Like, he was a construction worker. He was a helper. He was a worker. He was always active. But we would go to the store. He's got to put all the carts back in the parking lot. He's got to stack all the shelves that things are out of order. And I was just like, I love it. So I went and I got these 2 hard hats on Walmart.com for like $5. And it just contributed to the theme of it, right? Because it was inculcating values that are important to us, right? Like being helpful, being a person of integrity. You see something out of place, pick it up, right? Did your mom ever say that when you were little? If you see something out of place, pick it up, right? Like a place for everything and everything in its place. But this goes also outside of the home. Help them prepare for life. Like, that is what our values are doing. It's helping them to prepare for life. And so some ways that I have been trying to do that is with some of these books that I have from Usborne books that I saw. So we'll start from these. So keeping us healthy, like when your kids are reading books like these, and what I love about Usborne books is they're like really excellent quality. The representation in the books is absolutely amazing. As you can see, there are people from all different creeds, colors, cultures. I had a book with my son. We were at the mechanic, and this book held him down for like 4 hours. And on the front cover of it, like he didn't see it, it was really small, but there was a little Rasta man in the middle of the book. I was like, we're Usborne books. What y'all know about representation? Like, everybody is everybody. But anyway, so you'll see in this book, it's called Keeping Us Healthy. And what I love about it is there are people in this book that we have in our community, so that they know, like, these are positions that they could have if they want to. Like, these are people that are real. And so, as you can see, what I love about these, again, is there are children that look like my children's community. And so you'll see here, there's a male nurse. Like, I don't think I met a male nurse until I worked in the emergency room, and that was like 5 years ago. but there are male nurses. And this says, my daddy is a nurse. He's as caring as can be. He cheers up all his patients and then comes home to me. And then I love this here. Who's the doctor? Mommy. My mommy is a doctor. She helps people when they're ill. Her knowledge is unrivaled. She's commended for her skill. And when you hear your kids say stuff like commended, like my 6-year-old said, it's not cohesive. I was like, what did you say? But when you read to your kids, when you talk to your kids, when you speak to your children, using these kind of words, they're going to give them back to you and in the right context. It's amazing. He can't read, but the boy bright, right? Why? Because we're in these books, because we're talking all day, we're listening to these stories. So everybody in this book like represents somebody in his village, in his community. And then again here, we have the pharmacist who is in a wheelchair. You know, me growing up, everybody looked the same in my books. And so by the time I became an adult, I was just like really tired of it and sick of it. Like nobody looks real. Like I went to the mall today and I saw in the Victoria's Secrets, I saw a girl with 2 crutches, you know, 2 arm crutches. And I mean, everybody was in, you know, underwear, but it was just amazing to see the representation, how broad it was, the different sizes, people with different disabilities. So the pharmacist here, as you can see, is in a wheelchair, right? And so my daddy is a pharmacist dispensing medication. He's happiest when giving help and says that's his vocation. And then look who's holding a baby. So I love that this is an interracial couple and look who's holding a baby. Daddy's holding a baby, right? Like, again, just these are the values. Like daddy is involved, daddy's there, not just sending mommy running all, like everybody's together. Family, togetherness, cohesiveness. These are the things that are important. And yes, people who have disabilities do have families and they do have occupations, they do have jobs. And so books like these, they're teaching our children about life in its bigger scheme. So we also want to be very selective and intentional about the books we're bringing in our house. Not just because someone's giving books away, do you want to bring them into your house, but you want to be intentional about the books that you are selecting. I have a book here for those of you who have older children or for those of you who are like me and just need to understand it. Usborne books, Understanding Money. Like, why are soccer players paid more than gardeners? What is the Federal Reserve? What does it do? How do I save or spend? Can money buy me happiness? Like how to budget? You know, what happens when people save? Like what are some catastrophes or things that happen? It's intercultural, international, but I'm just like, a 10-year-old can understand. Like I see other cultures, like their kids understand money because they have businesses and I see their kids running the cash register and doing receipts and those kind of things. But for regular people, this isn't like a conversation that people have, but it's something we have to be intentional about because we want our children to be responsible with money, right? But we don't know how to teach them or how to help them to do that. I can ask my mom over and over again, and I've asked her a number of times, I'm like, how did you raise 2 children on minimum wage? Like, how was that a thing? How do you have 2 children who got their master's degrees and are well traveled? Like, what, hello? And now she's retired and she's living back in Grenada. Could you give me some insight on what happened here? Do you know what? She can't. She'd be like, I don't know how I did it. And I'm pretty sure she's just like, it is the Lord, right? But if you want to teach your child, if you want to be intentional and you want your child not to be like just hustling, but to be like, get intentional about it, right? Like teach them. So these are the things that you need to have available and around and talking about, and even like letting your child hear you talk about money, or when they say, mommy, I want this, you can ask them, you know, how much does that cost? How much do you have? Like you can start that from small. I start having that conversation with my 6-year-old. And so he'll ask me, you know, we exchange tokens for money around here. So he'll be like, so how much does that cost? How many tokens do I need to get that? So it's being intentional about helping him to have respect for money, having him to respect us and how we get money, you know, respect. What's a potty for? ¿Qué es la caca? What are germs and how things work? Those are 4 more books that I have found been very helpful in preparing us for life. So what's a potty for and ¿Qué es la caca? In trying to change, potty train my 3-year-old. ¿Qué es la caca is what is poop? And I want them to be comfortable talking about the parts of the body, comfortable talking about how the body works. And so I love that book so much. I got it in English and Spanish. And it just talks about who poops, what poop is consisting of, what poop looks like from different people. And it's really funny. I mean, but they're not like, he about it, you know, because God made our bodies wonderful, and this is how it works. And, so we talk about when they're not pooping or when their poop is soft. Does it mean they're not eating the right things? Are they not getting enough water? Like, is health important to us? Then poop is important to us, right? What are germs? What Are Germs is like a great book, because in the book, I'm sorry, we're starting to go down time, but in the book, it shows like, how do you get germs? And you get them through your eyes, you get them through your nose, when you put your hands in your nose or your mouth, or, licking your hands. And so I don't have to talk to my kids about that when we go out, because we've been reading these books, and they'll start to like scratch, and then they'll be like, oh, or they'll ask me for hand sanitizer. I'm talking about my 6 and my 3-year-old, right? So understanding these things, you don't have to know everything. You can be learning along with them when you have these books. It's amazing. Now, going to the doctor, this has transformed our life. And this book, guys, this book is $1.99, but this book has transformed my life, because I went, my 3-year-old, in the doctor's office, like, there's nothing they could do. There's no toys, there's no spinnies, there's no happy faces, there's nothing that my son is not going to look at the person walking in the door like. So after we did this book together, going to the doctor, where it walks through who goes to the doctor, why, mommy calls the doctor, then we get an appointment. Now it's his turn, and then he tells the doctor what's wrong with him, and then the doctor looks. So we did these things, right? So I said, hey, baby, can I look in your mouth? Can I use this light and look in your mouth? He opens up. Oh, it looks very good. I said, can I look in your ear? So this is me and him reading the book together. I said, can I look in your ear now? In your ear. I actually recently, about 2 weeks ago, I was like, let me look in your ear. And I was taking pictures of his ear, and I was showing it to him what I could see. We were talking about wax. It just makes them more like, what are you doing? And so when we're able to do this kind of thing and show them, so when I get to the doctor's office, right, it talks about somebody's getting medication, somebody's getting a vaccination, somebody's getting prescriptions. We look at the whole process. So now they're aware of what's going on. Mommy, you have to go to CVS to get a prescription. It's a weird conversation to have a little kid, but yeah, they understand. Now we need a prescription. So this has helped. So no tears. There's no tears. There's no fighting just to get the pressure cuff on the arm. All of that was a fight before, but just because I prepared him with this book, and then there's also going to the dentist and going to school, like, just because I was able to prepare them reading these books, they were able to have more understanding and kind of see it and visualize it. We talk about it, we walk through it. It was a whole different experience. And so I'm going to show you what going to the dentist was like. This was after the dentist office visit. And do you see there's a smile? I don't know what that is, a grimace, a smile, but they were happy. Going to the dentist turned into a whole different thing, especially for my little one who don't like people touching him. But once we went through the books and we practiced it at home, and he let me look inside, and she's like a fan, and I let him look inside my mouth. It was a whole different experience. So we are practicing life with these kids when we use these tools and these books. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Doing it together. This is really important, because growing up in a matriarchal family where it was just my mom, single mom, we didn't have a lot of time to do it together. We had to like divide and conquer. She's like, you, kitchen, you, yard. Like, we had to split up and get things done. But when you're doing things together, you're instilling values, you're showing them what's important. And it's not just that, it's not that we weren't important, but even when she did have, time, when she did have time to spend with us, and, this is no shade on moms, but it's just like, she needed it for herself. Like, self-care was important, right? So let me explain to you how this works. Single mom needs self-care, but hey, guess what? Family is important. So we have a village. So you know what? I would go by Auntie Shirley's house on the weekends. Auntie Shirley was a 4'11" Trinidadian woman. So I felt like we were like equals, because we would talk and look in each other's eyes. And I felt like so special. I had so many aunties who would give me the attention that my mom didn't have the energy to give me, right? So even though you may not have all the wherewithal, because you are intentional about what your values are, you are still able to put things in place so that your values are passed on to your children. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, good. So doing it together. Do a puzzle together. We have the zoo jigsaw puzzle. It's this cute little puzzle with animals. It's like 9 pieces. My 3-year-old, he did it the first time in like 10 minutes. We use it on Sabbaths because it's got like animals and it's so cute. And so he does them, and it's color coded on the back. even though it's 3 puzzles. I mean, it's not over challenging, but it's enough, right? Do the puzzles together. I'm not a puzzle person, but I saw that that's something that interests him. So I sit down next to him and I'm like, ooh, I try not to take over when I get interested, right? The Usborne Complete Book of Art and Start to Cook. So look, this is an art book. I'm a creative, but I'm not an artsy person, right? So that's why I got this book here. So maybe it's something that might be an interest to my child. Like, of course, I want them to be creative and think outside of the box and not know that they don't always have to, color in between the lines. So this is Art Ideas. So I opened the book and I saw this activity that you see on the screen here. And I was like, hey, no straight lines. I can do that. Raggedy lines, little hand-drawn squares. Let's try it. And so I tried it with my 6-year-old, and that was our, what you see at the bottom, and he loved it. And he was like very attentive to the detail. I'm not sure if you can see on the top picture, the little cars on the bottom and stuff. And so he was like, no, Mom, you have to draw a truck now. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm not an artist, right? But he doesn't know that, right? So I just do what's in the picture. Rectangle, 2 circles, like good, looks good. And he loved it. It's actually still up in his room, and this is probably like 5 months later, right? So when you do things together, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it just shows them that like their opinion matters because they're giving input. Oh no, Mommy, I don't think we should do it like that, or maybe we can put less over here. So you're listening to their input, you're getting their ideas, you're getting to know that, right? And so you're passing on your values. And that also sets up the stage for later when they're teenagers. Like, they don't want to sit and look in your face and be like, oh, we have to talk, but you have set the standard for, we work together, we're at the kitchen washing, we're in the kitchen washing dishes, we're on a drive, we're talking, and we're doing something together. And so I'm going to show you this video that initially when I saw it, like steam was coming from my head. I'm sure many of you have seen it already, but I want you to see it in the context of what we're talking about today. So, in my rigid mind, like I'm like order, neatness, discipline, obedience. I don't see any of that happening here, right? What I see happening here is absolute chaos. You're wasting my ingredients. Go take a bath and go to your bed, okay? Like, I don't know what you think this is, little boy. We don't eat raw eggs. Okay, stop. You need 2 lashes. We don't eat raw flour. Like, that's all I'm thinking as we are watching this. What? Why are we still making this? Honey, look, come get this child. Come get this child. Whose child is this? Oh, you got that down there? You swallowed it before I could get it. You think that's cute? Oh, she high-fiving him now, huh? I was livid until I realized this lady was laughing. She was having a magnificent time with her grandson. And look at this. Is he gonna be 15 and thinking, oh, I used to eat raw eggs? Or is he gonna be thinking, Nana, you have some? Is he gonna be thinking, I used to make cookies with my grandma and they were the best cookies ever? What is your child going to be thinking about when you are not there, or when they are older and you guys they just need, you know what I mean? They need you, they need to figure something out. They need to think about something. Like, the experiences that you have with them doing things together is going to make a difference in their life now and later. Does that make sense to you guys? Give me a head nod. So even if it doesn't go right, even if it's messy, like you're gonna have to, clean between the grates on the stove, you're gonna have to clean, sweep the floor, vacuum, you're probably even gonna have to mop after this, right? Like, and they're gonna need a whole dunk in the bathtub in the middle of the day, but like, do it together. It's stressful, but figure it out. Figure out what your weaknesses are, and then put things in place so that you can still do it together. Assign days when you can do it together. Like, I don't have the energy for this on a Friday, but listen, Sunday, that's our day in the kitchen because you like to be in the kitchen. I need to get these dishes washed. I don't have time for this, but look, Thursday, you can help me with the dishes. So figure out what is your method for doing it together. What can you do? Like what I was just telling you about, but it's also as far as books. Books are a vehicle for bonding with the children in our village. Our children, our cousins, our nieces, our best friends' kids, those kids that don't know if you're mommy's sister or your mommy's friend, like those are the children that you want to bond with. Those are the children that you are helping to infuse values into. So act so that we can raise healthy and secure children on purpose. Do some of the things that we've talked about today. Choose 1 or 2. Choose all. I hope you took notes or watched the video recording, but just act, do something. Don't just think, yeah, that was cool. shop now so you can have these books in a few days. I'm going to share with you a wish list link of books that we personally are using and have been using and that we have found really amazing. Some of them I shared with you or you saw in the presentation, and you can host so that you can share these books and you can also get them for free or discounted, or I could get them for free or discounted. It's your choice. But that's what happens when you host this presentation like this. You can, and that just means that you say to some friends or your Sabbath school group or your mommy group, and you say, hey, look, I have this presentation. I think this information will be used for you. And if they purchase books, from the list that I send or anywhere from the store, I have over 2,000 titles to choose from. When they make that purchase, you get credit as a hostess so that you also can build your library. And so, oh, sorry guys, I was supposed to share this earlier. Now in my store, the link that I'm going to share with you in the chat in a second, it's Usborne Books and More. It is not a Christian company, but they have amazing nonfiction titles. So I stick with nonfiction. As you can see, those are the titles that I've been sharing and that I share with my children. The colors, the images, the factual stuff, like the quality of the books, amazing. But there are other things that people can look for and select if you like fairy tales and stories and all of those things. But I did want to share for this group, because I do know the background of the group, something that I was reading this morning. And it said, you have indulged in novel and story reading until you live in an imaginary world. The influence of such reading is injurious to both mind and body. It weakens the intellect and brings a fearful tax upon the physical strength. I'm jumping down. The mind should be so disciplined that all its powers will be symmetrically developed. If the imagination is constantly overfed and stimulated by fictitious literature, it soon becomes a tyrant, controlling all the other faculties of the mind and causing the taste to become fitful and the tendencies to be perverse. Down here, she says, avoid reading and seeing things which will suggest impure thoughts. Cultivate the moral and intellectual powers. Let not these noble powers become enfeebled and perverted by much reading of storybooks. I know of strong minds that have been unbalanced and partially benumbed or paralyzed by intemperance in reading. So yes, we do encourage reading, but we encourage selectiveness and intentionality about what we are reading. Read about things that prepare our children for life. There is so much of it. Read about the body, how the body works. Let me show you the body book. Look inside your body. There's so much good stuff. There's a day my child just sat down. He's just like, man, I love the body book. Like it has flaps and it opens. Like there's so much for kids to look at and to learn. We don't need to water down or dumb down anything for them, because they are capable of understanding that God created an amazing thing when he created the human body. And that's just for an example. So be particular about the books that you have. Yeah, we want to have books just around, but be particular about the books that you have in your home and make sure you don't have anything that is giving Satan access to your home. The reading that I read from was Mind, Character, and Personality to chapter 63. I was supposed to leave some more time for question and answer. This is just some information about our books. $5.99 and under. 23% of our books are $5.99 and under. They do get more expensive, bigger books, higher quality. They have some internet related links that you can get even more information on. Those type of books might climb up. We have books that have sounds and recordings in them, but 35% of our books are $6 to $9.99. I mean, it's just amazing. 80% of our books cost less than a manicure, and it's for your child and it's for their brain, their development, and for the growth of your family values. So now we have time for feedback and questions. I hope I did okay on time. Talk to me.
One question based on the book that you just showed us, based on the body book. That book is on that same site to order also? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I can put in the chat now the 2 links that I have for you. I have a wish list which has books that I actually have and recommend. And see if that goes. And then I have the link from the event. So when you go to, where is our chat? Nothing in here. So here you can peruse what are some of the books that all of the books that I showed you tonight and more are on that link right there. And then this is the event chat. I'm sorry, the event link. So that when you purchase books, hostess Maqueda, for inviting me, she gets credit to build her library. And so if you click on that first link, you'll see a whole line of books, including the ones that I shared with you this evening. And I'm Renee Hector, live on Instagram, and my email address is renehectorlive@gmail.com if you have any questions or desire any further resources that I can assist you with. And then the generic website, bondbuildersbooks.com, is where you can purchase books at any time. And again, you can search by age, toddler, infant, but make sure that you're, I don't go for any books where animals are talking. I don't go for any books where there's anything about fairies or anything like that. But again, the nonfiction section about animals, how the weather is. There are little activity books for car rides. I mean, the nonfiction section is where it's at for me. And that's for my 3 and 6-year-old. Talking about activity books, this is another body book, The Human Body. But this book is amazing. It's from the Shine a Light series. The Shine a Light series has the human body, it has Under the Sea, it has Secrets by the Seashore. It has construction. I have a construction one here, of course, because you know my boys. So what happens when you open this book, which is amazing, is you can look and you can see, again, the representation of our village, people that look like who my children know. And it says here, a new person is waiting to be born. Can you see her? And then you look at this book with a flashlight and you're able to see. Can you guys see that? Can you see? There's a baby inside there. Kind of hard. So we would turn down the lights. And and we would look at this book. Let me find you another good. Oh, I have a picture with my son. Look, so there's a picture of my son. This is in the background, and then he's looking at his fingers because we were looking at fingerprints. Oh, I should turn this light down so you can see. And then we talk about how God made each of us unique and individual, and there's our fingerprints. And he learned, and I'm talking about my 3-year-old, he learned that he doesn't have fingerprints like anybody else. Air comes into the body through the nose and the mouth. Where does it go? My flag up there. Where does it go next? You see the lungs under here. So books like this are fun, they're educational. I know what my son wants when he's asking me for the flashlight. He also wants the book. And then there's this one about construction site. I mean, these pictures are amazing. They're very graphic, and the quality of the pages. You can see this person. The architect is here at work, looking at the plans. So the Shine the Light series is really neat because it's showing you, and then it's also giving you a little something to look for. And so we have a few Shine the Light series. My kids are also interested in animals. So we go to the aquarium. So we have lots of books on dolphins and under the ocean. And so just look at your kids grow and their interests change, which is another reason why you should up your kids, switch or add more books to your kids' library, like when you change their clothes, like when they're moving into the next size, because their interests are growing and because their interests are changing. So you're also getting to know, what are your kids interested in? Do they love bugs? Oh, let's talking about bugs. The 100 bugs to fold and fly. And so this makes me a genius at folding airplanes. It tells you exactly how to do it. and it gives you the lines on the paper. And then, I mean, for like an hour or two, me and my kids will be like folding, they make mommy fold this one. And they'll tell me like, no, we want a beetle. No, we want a butterfly. We want this type of airplane. And they'll point to the color. They'll tell me what type of airplane. Can you believe I can do that? Ha, I'm a genius. So these are the activity books that you can find on the link that I sent you, the wish list. These are wipe, clean zoo activities for you kids that are interested in animals. Again, we're not down with talking animals, but God created animals. Of course, we want to look and see and take them to the zoo, essentially, and help them with activities and eye connection stuff. Like, it's amazing. So there's just so many ways that you can invest in your family and establishing your values and teaching your children what you want them to learn on purpose. And these are just ways to help you do that a little bit easier. You don't have to make it up yourself. You don't have to come up with a curriculum, but you just have to decide what you want to do. And then that's the vehicle to help you get to where you're going. Any other questions? Well, I'm here. I'm hoping that the quiet is because you guys are looking at some of the books. And so I'll be here while you're doing that. If you have any questions about them, like I told you, I have a slew of them. If you have any questions or concerns, if you wanted to see any other books, I'm also here with, I have to have like 2 sets of books because my kids be running through them. So I have some for myself and then I have theirs.
So I'm happy that you recorded this one and that Renee, you are in the WhatsApp group. Sister Christiane, I'm watching the time and I know this is not your time to be awake. So
Wow.
we will not keep you very much longer, but I just want everybody to know that we can reach out to Renee. She's in the homeschooling group. I'm sure you're gonna post this on Facebook so people can reach out to you or to her, right? So I think we can call it a night and we'll message Renee if we have any other questions or concerns.
Amen. I must say I really enjoyed the presentation though. It
I'm so
just gives
glad.
me more ideas what I can do with my children to bond with them more. So thank you for that presentation, my sister.
I'm so glad. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And
Well, get some rest. 5 beautiful babies. You all have a good night. Good night, Lenora.
good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good night,
Maqueda.
everyone.
Good night. Good night. Sorry, good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Liz. Maqueda rushing people. Anybody trying to leave, I got more books to show y'all, but